What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations. I'm the host of Epic Conversations 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. And one of the other things I do is once a month, I host a live online conversation for fathers that is co-sponsored by Dad Central, Canada's National Fatherhood Organization, and Dove Men Care. Always, I like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. And we have another new friend that's going to be part of the Dr. Vibe conversation tonight. And the funny thing is, after our pre-conversation, I think the producer and her should be together because they were going back and forth en français, and I'm just sitting there like feeling left out, but it's all good. Tonight, we're going to be chatting about a very special initiative called Ounce of Prevention, OZ or OZ, depending where you are from. And it's a great initiative out of the Toronto area. So let me give you some background. Responding to the overrepresentation of Black and racialized youth in the criminal justice system, Delta Family Resource Center has joined forces with 4 Toronto community-based organizations. They're Urban Rez Solutions, Somali Women and Children, For Youth Initiative, and Think Twice to deliver a new program called Ounce of Prevention. And it's a new program just recently launched in March 2020. And these partners are getting together to help Black and racialized youth that are dealing with the criminal justice system. And we are blessed and highly favored to have Ms. Kemi Jacobs, Executive Director of the Delta Family Service, with us tonight. So, Ms. Jacobs, how are you?
I'm wonderful, Dr. Vibe. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh, the pleasure's mine, and this is a home for you as always. I know you've had a rather intense day, so that's why I always say to people ahead of time, I do conversations, not interviews. And for many, I know about you, but I have a worldwide audience, so I always like to have people share a little bit about their background. So, can you share a little bit about yourself to our audience?
Okay. So I always start with the personal in terms of I'm from the island of St. Kitts, which is I always say it's quality, not quantity.
Yes.
It's an island which is 68 square miles. And I grew up in St. Kitts. And I think growing up in a country which is predominantly Black is really important for African people. So I left the Caribbean when and I lived in Antigua as well. I left the Caribbean when I finished school and went to Simon Fraser University. So that's the first time I left home. Lived in kind of for a while, went back home, taught for a while, and that was a really exciting time of my life. And after that, I went back to school and eventually ended up in Canada to open a tourism office for St. Kitts and Nevis. But my passion was in community, and it's always been in the Black community. So I soon left tourism and started working in the community sector, and I've been here ever since.
Thank you so much. Where did you get, or how did your passion come to work with community? Do you remember during your journey when you realized a community would be your journey?
I think I'm still realizing where my journey will end up.
Good answer.
What I want to be when I grow up.
Yes.
But my parents were very involved in community. My parents started family planning in St. Kitts.
Wow.
My dad was a trade unionist. So I've always been involved in community, and I grew up in the 70s. So basically Black power, Black identity, Africa, all of those things were a big part of my DNA.
Right.
So I've always been very passionate about Africa. And so when I did come to North America, for me, the biggest thing about being in North America was meeting Africans from the continent.
Nice.
Yeah, that was really good. Yeah.
Great. Why are you so passionate specifically about Black and racialized youth when it comes to the criminal justice system?
Because the figures speak for themselves. I think that a lot of, I think options are wealth. And I think a lot of young Black kids who grew up in North America don't have access to resources and opportunities. So as a result, they're very creative. and they find options for themselves and basically end up in the criminal justice system. So people who shouldn't, and basically if people had resources and knew how to navigate the system, they wouldn't end up incarcerated or in detention and all of those things. So that's why a program like ours for me is really critical in terms of getting people away from the system.
Uh, I don't like talking about ladies' age or weight. But my mother raised me to that way. So I'm going to tiptoe around this conversation piece
Hmm.
gingerly.
Okay.
Compare the options that Black and racialized youth have now compared to your days of being a youth. And you're still young. I'm gonna say you're 29 and
I'm good.
holding.
I'm good. I'm good.
Okay,
Comfortable
good.
in my skin.
But how were those
Mhm.
those choices and opportunity different if they are in any way?
I think it varies according to where you are, because the world is so much smaller now because of communication. So I mean, I remember seeing a young woman from the continent in Africa saying just how different it was for her in terms of she has access to the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
Certainly in my generation, young people didn't have that kind of access, but even though we didn't have that access, we had access to a wealth of resources, or aunties, or uncles, or grandparents. So, what are resources in terms of, yeah, so they have a different kind of access and they can do things which we never thought of. But at the same time, our connections to community and to our culture really, really grounded us and made us strong.
Right. Are you saying that young people's connection with their elders is not as strong as it
No,
should be?
definitely not. And this community, and North America tends to be a very alienating society. You know, the connections are not there. So, I mean, one of the big things that we do at Delta is we worked with youth in provincial care,
Yep.
and we worked with youth and caregivers to come up with a model of service called Sese So Woban,
Mm-hmm.
which basically looks at identity, first of all. And a lot of young Black kids don't think of themselves as African or Black, or and celebrating all that that is. I mean, at Delta, we just recently had Brother Sankofa. You can't
Yes.
not miss it. He did
No.
a phenomenal series with our staff in terms of Black identity and celebrating Black identity, and it's something we want to offer to the community. So basically, we the staff, and we have an amazing team of workers with in ours. They connect young people to their culture and identity, and help them grow a bit more comfortable in their skin and feel a sense of pride, you know, in who they are. We look at their unique situation. We make connections to social services because really we pay taxes. The Black community is there. So basically, we provide supports which will allow them to connect with housing, jobs, all of those things, and then we connect them to the Black community because that's a rich wealth of resource that can really support young people in the community. Yeah, and we've been blessed with our
No, go ahead.
yeah,
Continue.
we've been
This is
blessed with our
great.
partners because we have Urban Rez, which does a lot of work with young people who are in terms of anger management, in terms of hip hop and that kind. So they do a certain type of public education.
Mhm.
We have Think Twice, which is Z. I think you had Z on your program,
Yes.
who
Yeah.
is passionate and amazing. I call her matriarch in some ways, but she
Yeah.
does a lot of work with young people who are incarcerated, and does theater and uses really innovative ways of connecting. FYI works with Black youth, and they've done a lot of work, and Somali Women and Children have worked with the Somali community for a long time. So it's a really nice blend of partners who all bring something different to the table and work together to support the Black community.
Fantastic. Uh, for my worldwide audience, can
Hmm.
you just share some of the challenges that Black and racialized youth are facing? And I'm going to put it in two layers:
Hmm.
they face before 2020 and what they're facing now
Wow.
in
Yeah.
2020.
Yeah. Um, so I think they're facing a lot that they faced in 2020. Before 2020, they're still facing that. But at the same time, I think a lot of them are also facing yeah, the COVID, the trauma of that. So pre 2020, it was identity stuff. It was around options in terms of education. It was the racism which exists in many systems, the school system, housing, the provincial care system, all employment. All of those things made it really hard for Black youth to succeed and do well. Um, Following that, so you had that whole basket of challenges, and when you add COVID and the need to isolate on top of that, it's like a totally different ballgame. We're finding that young people tend to think that they're not susceptible to COVID, and so they won't they won't do physical distancing, they won't they won't wear masks and all of those types of things, which exacerbate the problem. And who is dying from COVID? It's our communities. There's a disproportionate number of people from the Black and other racialized communities who are impacted by COVID.
Yeah, that's so true.
Hmm.
Was Oz an idea before COVID hit, or
Oh
did it
yeah,
happen?
yeah,
Okay,
very
so
much so, very much so.
can you give
And
the
so actually,
backstory?
and so yeah, and so
Give the
Oz,
backstory, please.
yeah, so Oz was born, some time ago. It was basically knowing the need for young Black, and it's not just youth, because youth don't exist in isolation. It's youth and their families.
Okay.
Because quite often when youth get into trouble with the law, their families don't know where to turn, what to do. It's just, oh my God, holy, holy, what do
Yes.
I do? It's really a deer in the headlights. How do I navigate this? And quite often they get bad advice or no advice. And as a result of not having the right information, kids end up in the system. Yeah. So that's
Right.
why an ounce of prevention, if you get it at the beginning
Yes.
and you kind of, yeah, it's better. You don't have to do the whole cure. So yes, so the idea was born like a year and a half ago, and it was very late, huh? Like basically, it's something we wanted to do for a long time. Didn't know about this application, and in a process of like less than a week, rounded up
Wow.
the partners, got them involved, and then and then put in the application. So it was really just, are you interested? Boom. And then when we were shortlisted, contacting the partners again and saying, are you still interested? Because we thought we weren't shortlisted. And then when we finally, and I actually was in St. Kitts, my brother was dying of cancer.
My
So I got it
condolences.
then, yeah. And so basically that was in February. And and when we that was February. When people said whether they were on board or not, we worked on that for like, I've never worked so hard on the proposal. It's like and I've done this a lot. It was around, we didn't, I think it was in July that it was finally confirmed, and then there was all the whole process. But it was a good process in terms of the partners coming on board, fleshing it out and so on, and actually seeing it come to fruition, and seeing some of the clients and hearing people and one of the components that we're really proud of is the counseling, because Black people don't have access to free counseling,
No.
and we felt it was critical that we provide counseling and that kind of support to families.
Wonderful. That's fantastic. Do you remember the moment you found out that that everything was a go?
Well, it wasn't a moment, because we were working. I tell you, we were working this back and forth, and we had a lot of support from the ministry. But it
Yes.
was back and forth and fine tuning and tweaking and so on. So when it was finally, it was just like a, it was like a big sigh of relief.
Well,
Yeah.
congratulations. I know
Hmm.
myself the work that it takes to get something like
Hmm.
that to
Hmm.
be
Hmm.
successful, and
Yeah.
that's just part
Hmm.
one,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah. Exactly. And working with the partners have been great, though. All of the four agencies have worked together really well, and so on. Yeah.
so what is?
Um,
Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
I've forgotten what I was going to say. So the counseling piece is really important, and the public education, which is a big piece that Urban Res does, where they actually will be going on into school. So a lot of this was put on hold. We're doing the counseling virtually, but in terms of actually going into schools and doing this is the prevention part of the model. Going into schools and speaking with young people and into communities, they'll actually be doing intensive work in communities where they actually work with in a community, doing several workshops, having more of an impact, so to speak, than just doing a one shot. So it's a blend of one-shot presentations, but then more intensive work in some other communities.
Fantastic.
Hmm.
What is the mandate of Oz?
Um, to put it very succinctly, we say basically, we basically want to create a Toronto where the future, where the success of Black youth is not determined by contact with the criminal justice system.
Mm.
Yeah. So we want when Black youth get in trouble with the law, we want there to be a blanket, a supportive blanket of services. They're ready to help them navigate that system.
Interesting enough, has there been any involvement from the criminal justice system in
They've been
regards to
they've
this?
been very supportive. They've been
Okay.
extremely supportive. Like the Crown at Finch West, when COVID happened, they wanted to give back to the community. So a lot on their own, they did this. They did an initiative
Mhm.
and basically raised $3,000, which
Wow.
they gave to us, which we were giving back to youth in terms and their families in terms of support during COVID. So
Mm,
they've been very supportive, and it's not just money. They also want to have a way of maybe once a month, and we're still trying to decide what that program could look like. Where we do a kind of ask a crown.
yeah,
It isn't legal advice, but just in terms of having of educating our community to understand better how the criminal justice system works. When
wonderful.
in another incarnation, I used to work at Toronto Community Housing. We started a program called Ontario with Justice 101, and we'd have people from the Crown, and we'd have a judge, lawyers, etc., work with young people, and we'd usually get young people from two different communities. And they would actually present a case and actually have the judge deliberate and decide on what the outcome would be. So
Mm,
we have quite a lot of experience in terms of engaging different partners in the justice system.
nice. Again, as I'm going to just reflect on this year so far, what are you and your team hearing from our young people at this time?
People are, I mean, basically, like most agencies, we've just had to pivot, Dr. Vibe.
Yeah.
Um, and we're close to our communities. We work really well. We've been in low income communities for more than 35 years. Delta has. I've only been with them for 5 years. Yeah.
Congratulations.
And so we know our communities, but I hadn't realized how close to the edge so many families were. We have
Wow.
an amazing program called SNAP,
Yep.
Stop Now and Plan. And it's basically for kids. They actually had a virtual graduation just a while ago. And they work with children and their families who have been who have behavioral issues, and
Hmm.
quite often are are spending more time outside of the classroom than inside the classroom.
Mm.
You know, and the staff are. I'm so blessed. Basically, they once they stayed as long as they could, having people come in. But once people, it wasn't safe for people to come in. You didn't know who was COVID free, etc. So they started doing virtual programming and connecting with the families. They basically we put our heads together and we said that people need food.
Yeah.
And so in less than, I would say, in less than a few weeks, we basically pivoted and became a big part of our operations was around providing packages to families to support them during this period. And we continue to do that with lots of support from the city, from United Way, etc. But
Wow.
but people are, I mean, it's a slippery slope. A lot of people are just on the margin. It just takes it just takes a tip to
Yeah.
send them over. So it's really important to have supports for families.
How do you find out, or how do young people find out about the program? Like, how is the intake, all that sort of
Okay.
process? If you could give an overview of the process, I
Okay.
think would be very
So
valuable.
there's an intake process. We have a number. Basically, people can call, and you can be referred by a worker, by the courts, by a family member. A lot of people self-refer. So there are lots of ways of getting in touch. And I'll actually give you the number for. I think I should probably. Um,
Don't worry, I'm gonna take care of it. We're gonna get
okay,
it.
you get it. Okay,
We're gonna
thanks.
get it up. We're gonna get up on the screen while you're sharing.
Okay, right. And basically, it's all funneled to the manager, Ken, and then based on what the case is, he reassigns it to one of the caseworkers. So we have four youth justice workers. Um, Two of them are assigned to other agencies. I mean, they all work together a lot of the time, but they're attached to other agencies. So one is in Scarborough, with Urban Res, one is with FYI, and two are with us. And then we have our reintegration and release planning workers, and they basically go into the jails and support people who are hopefully on their way out, so 6 months before they come out, in terms of helping them to develop a plan. We want to work with their families as well, because they're coming back to families who quite often are not quite sure how to support them.
Sure.
One of the programs that we're starting is family group conferencing, where you get basically a young person will decide who their family is. And it may be blood and it may be not. And basically, you speak to each of those family members individually, and you bring them all together to support. So it's really the blanket approach to support that young person, and together they develop a plan for that young person. Who and so they're all volunteers, huh? They're all people who care about that young person, and based on that, they come up with a plan, and then they actually implement the plan in terms of how we're going to support this person going forward.
Wow.
Mhm.
That
Yeah,
that that's fantastic.
yeah,
It's it's interesting you mentioned earlier about some of the challenges that young people have, and the lack of connectivity between generations. I'm very, very passionate about intergenerational
yeah, yeah,
communication with blacks. And many
yeah.
years ago, I read a book called Black Men Obsolete, Single, and Dangerous. It's about
Wow,
20
wow,
plus years old. And
yeah.
one of the things that I'll never forget is the author said that African heritage is communal and North American European society is based on the
Ind-
individual.
Individualistic, yeah. It's so true. Yeah, it's so true. And we need that blanket, or that those supports, those connections, in order to thrive.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
we
so,
really do.
so
Yeah.
true. Uh, what are some of the successes you've experienced so far? I know it's
Um,
fairly new, but I'm sure that there have been
it's
successes already.
very, very new. So actually our numbers are really, really strong, even with COVID, because I mean we started in February. Really, staff got hired in mid-January. The program started in February, and then after that, wow, you're very smooth, Dr. Vibe. You have the number up there and everything. Thank you. Um, yeah. So basically, even though and for young people, connections are really important. Like a lot of our staff normally meet with their clients in, like, Tim Hortons, etc., like a coffee shop somewhere that where they go, and we haven't been able to do that. But even despite that, despite the fact that they haven't been able to meet with their clients, they're meeting them virtually, and our numbers are really, really strong. We're very pleased. We thought that we would not be able to deliver services, but
Mhm.
I guess the need is so great that people come to us. And one of the things I wanted to speak about, I remember what it was, is
Yes.
the fact that our services are Afrocentric. They're African focused and African positive. So the staff are all Black. The lens, and we get this a lot in our SNAP program as well, because the SNAP program is an African focused SNAP. You have SNAP in many places around the world, but the ministry funded three agencies to provide SNAP for the Black community: Tropicana, Kafkan, and Delta. And basically, the program that we provide, um, it- families who come in, like normally when you go to a mainstream agency, the stereotypes, they
Yep.
assume certain things about
Yep.
you and your family. But when you come to an organization which is Black focused, we get it, we understand. So you don't have to explain everything. We don't make assumptions about you and your family.
Mhm.
So people feel very comfortable. Our staff care. Like, basically, I mean, even though we're technically working from home, staff are in here every week, making sure that people are supported, helping to get packages for people. So there's a real, it's not just a job for most of our staff. there's a real passion
Yeah.
for the community and for the Black community.
Nice. And
Hmm.
I'm just going to share with the audience here that the partners in this are committed to these following things: representation at video court proceedings, support letters for court related matters, information and or referral assistance with release planning for those existing in the prison system, assistance to youth and their families seeking information on relevant programs and services available in the community, free counseling for youth and their families, assistance for coping with stress and anxiety, and general program information. So all those things,
Yeah.
this
Hmm.
this partnership, this
Hmm.
collaboration
Hmm.
is
Yeah.
providing. And
Yeah.
uh, so if you are living in the Greater Toronto area,
Yeah. Hmm.
this is the lady and
Thank
her
you.
team are
Thank you.
this should be top of mind.
Yeah.
When
And
go ahead.
and quite often people tend to think that it's only guys, but really it's interesting. Of our numbers, almost 50-50 young women and young men. That was a shock to me.
It's interesting you mentioned that. About a
Hmm.
year ago, I was training to do some voluntary stuff
Hmm.
at the Ontario Correctional Institute, which is in
Right.
Brampton, which is just
Hmm.
beside
Hmm.
Mertry.
Right.
Went in there for 3 hours, did volunteer stuff, and I had a chance to speak to a lady guard.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I said, "So where are you from?" "Oh, I came from a prison in Ottawa. It's all women's prison." I said, "Oh, I guess it must be a lot tougher here." She says, "No, no, no. The guys are easier than the ladies." I went, "What?
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah.
Wow."
Hmm.
So were you surprised? Are you surprised that you have almost like a even balance of male?
Yeah, I was surprised. I didn't expect. I mean, the manager said, Kemi, he wasn't as surprised as I was. I think he was surprised that it was as high as it is, but he expected. He knew that there would be a good representation from the sisters.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow,
Hmm.
that's fantastic.
Yeah.
What
Hmm.
what has brought you joy the most, or some of the joy moments you've had already with this?
For me, to be
Yeah.
very honest, going into a room where the Oz team is and the partners are meeting to discuss the issues, and just seeing this room of positive young Black professionals just caring about the work, just seeing this room full, just for me it's just like such a gift to see all of these people focused on supporting Black youth and their families. For me,
Mhm.
that's a rush. I'm seeing that. And also hearing of some of the cases, because one of the things that we found, like for example, in the SNAP program, and even in the counseling that we do for Oz, and also prevention, we call it Oz for short. Um, a lot of the cases, like our communities are complex, you know, we're very complex. So whereas normally, when you do counseling, you look at maybe six sessions and the person is gone. Uh-uh.
No,
We're
no.
dealing with poverty.
Yep.
We're dealing with quite often abuse.
Yep.
We're dealing with unemployment. We're dealing with a lot of different issues. And so basically, it takes a while to unpack them. So we understand, for example, so one of the pieces of the Afrocentric model and the Afrocentric approach is that it's not going to be a quick, it's not going to be, and you're done. It takes a bit longer. And our people take a while to develop trust. I mean, it's easier because they're being treated by Black people, but it still takes a while for them to really yeah. Hmm.
I
So
agree with you. I'm the
yeah.
same way. That I do a lot of work with fathers you may or may not
Hmm.
know. And
I know you came and you want or that Black dads you came on. Yeah.
yes, and to
Hmm.
me, I don't want a connection. I want a relationship.
Hmm. Exactly. Exactly.
Because whether it's young, old, whatever,
Hmm.
until you
Yeah.
develop that relationship and
Yeah.
trust,
It's so true. It's so true.
you
Like
know,
one of the young men who came in this week, because we're not seeing people technically,
yep.
but there's a young man who's been working with Ken, who is our manager for well, like since he was 12, he's been in the system,
Wow.
and he's now around 20. I would say probably around 24, and they have maintained a relationship. He checks in with him every day. This guy was, and I mean, this guy is hardcore in terms of some of the charges, but here he's just a teddy bear. you know, and people he has a relationship with the manager. And when he comes here, everybody just connects with him, you know. So
Wow.
and there's that feeling of comfort, like in a normal day, when you come into Delta, there's coffee, there are biscuits, there's someone in the front, there are computers you can come and you can use. There's always someone who can connect with you. And it feels like a second home. Some people come here for their morning coffee but in normal times. So it very much is a family feeling, you
Yeah.
know? And
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
mhm.
I agree with you. Earlier on this year, I was very blessed to go to Yellowknife,
Mm,
and
mm,
I was humbled to. They were having a 3-day conference with their
wow.
whole social service team.
Wow.
They were doing
Mm-hmm.
a total reintegration,
Mm-hmm.
reformatting of their social service, and they asked me to come
Uh-huh.
and speak about engaging with Indigenous fathers.
Wow. Wow.
And
Wow.
I was really humbled, and I'll never forget
Mm-hmm.
the gentleman. It was 3 days. I never forget the gentleman. The first thing he said is, "We want to create a safe and brave space."
Wow. Wow.
I've never.
Yeah.
I
See,
said I've
see.
always heard about the safe
Wow. See,
space,
see? I love
but
that. I'm,
but
I'm
the
gonna borrow
brave,
that. I'm
the
gonna borrow that.
absolutely
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
problem. But I know that's what is at Delta, a safe and
Mm-hmm.
brave
Mm-hmm.
space.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
people need to
We
hear
can
how
have
it
those.
has been delivered.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That
That
was
must
that.
have been quite an experience, huh?
We'll talk
Yeah.
offline. It changed.
Yeah.
It changed my life.
Mm-hmm.
It
Mm-hmm.
changed. It
Yeah.
changed my life.
Yeah. And in terms of like a lot of what you say, a lot of what you speak and you embody is looking at life holistically and about changing lives and I think it's really important. And I think that's one of the blessings and the joys of the work that I do and that we do here is that you have an opportunity to change lives. And the way in which you take the time to speak about there's a spiel that you say at the beginning, just in terms of touching lives, and
Oh,
I was teasing you about it.
I was a blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem.
Right. Yeah, a
You know?
solution for someone's problem. I'm taking the time to really invest in being a solution to someone's problems. You know, slowing down and and for me, integrity is key. And if you're not authentic,
Mm. The people, and they'll see you. They'll see you out. They know.
exactly,
They
exactly,
know. They
exactly,
know. They
exactly.
know.
Yeah.
You
Mm-hmm.
know. So
Yeah.
I know that that's the foundation with all the organizations
Mm-hmm.
that have
Mm-hmm.
come into
Mm-hmm.
this collaboration, because
Mm-hmm.
if it
They
wasn't,
care.
they wouldn't be there.
Yeah. And they all care so much. And they all do, yeah, they all are doing amazing work in their particular areas. Yes, yeah, we've been blessed. Yeah.
Do you
Mm-hmm.
know that this collaboration is very unique?
So I've heard. So I've heard. Yeah. And I mean, yeah, yeah. So it's really good when organizations work together and you work from a position of integrity. I mean, in all communities, you have people who try to tear down and so on.
Hmm.
And, I try just not to listen to that. It really is important I mean, our community has so many issues and there's so many other external forces trying to make us less that we really need to support each other and to build each other up and wherever possible to strengthen. Yeah. So that's what the partners are all doing.
Well, I said this before 2020, but I'll even say it more now. The next 5 years
Mm,
in Black life are gonna shape the next 100 years.
yeah. 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 It's true. And we have a moment now that
Yes.
we may never have again.
Yep.
So we need to use this moment to the best of the advantage
Yep.
of our race and of our people.
True.
We're having some conversations now that we've never had before
Yep.
in terms of anti-black racism, because we've spoken of anti-racism. But I mean, I mean, what's really sad is that if Mr. Floyd hadn't passed, that
Mm-mm.
moment would not have existed. So it's sad that it had to happen,
Yep.
but it became a catalyst
Yep.
that really changed the conversation. And we need to use the opportunity of that change of conversation to really push things forward for people in our various diverse communities. And I mean, we are both Caribbean heritage. Mhm.
Yes.
We tend to forget our continental sisters and brothers. Mm?
Mm.
Even in terms of the youth we work with, because we were here first, it's cool to be Caribbean. It's cooler to be Jamaican. Well, not really, but
We'll take that offline.
let's
All
not
right.
go there. But they are giving up their identity because it's not cool. And so one of the things we want to do is to embrace their continental African identity
Mm.
and have them feel good about it, just as we want our people to feel good and strong about being who we are. Mhm.
Well, I know you've
Yeah.
had a long day and you've given us more time than I thought you would, but I appreciate some can you give us some final words about Oz? Wow, what you're looking to do next? You don't have to give the contact information because it's just showing at the
You
bottom
have it,
there.
yeah.
So
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 just in well,
go ahead.
COVID. Well, once a week, every Wednesday night at 6:30, we have and Sister Chris. I mean, I am a rites of passage initiate.
I'm a
and
graduate of an elders
Oh,
program of
there
Rites
we
of
go.
Passage.
There
There
we
we
go.
go.
We're both right. Yeah. And, Sister Kristen, yeah, who's also a graduate. And every Wednesday night from 6:30, we just have a space where people can come and I call it vomit. You really need to let out. You
I
need to
love it.
vomit. You need to vomit from time to time. It's important and healthy.
Mhm.
So it's a space where people can come and unpack whatever they need to unpack. It's a safe and brave space. You see, told you I was going to use it.
You got yeah.
Flattery,
Okay,
imitation
all
is the
right.
most sincere form of flattery.
Yes.
Yeah.
That
So
and it's important you say that because there are too many of our people that are screaming and nothing's coming out.
yeah, yeah, yep, yep, yep. So true. So true. Yeah.
Too many. So I
Yeah.
am humbled to know, and I knew this already, but to know that you're providing that brave and safe space for our
Mm-hmm.
people, not only to help our people, but to help the world.
Uh-huh. Yep. Thank you. It really does make a difference. So there's that, and our counselors now we're looking at being a bit more accessible in terms of slowly and safely beginning to be open to the public, but we're doing it very slowly. Sometimes you need to go slowly to get there fast.
Yep.
And yeah, and so basically we're going through that process now ourselves in terms of figuring it out. But you have the numbers. You can call if you need any support. Call. It can be counseling. It can be not having somebody get a charge, not knowing what to do. Our staff is extremely skilled. They will know to tell you how to navigate and where you can find it because we can't do it on our own. So
No.
where you can find the appropriate resources and where you can feel part of a family and get the love because the love is here.
And,
Yeah.
and if you don't think this lady is exuding love, I don't know what's going on with you because she's got love in her, and she wouldn't have the staff that don't exude love either.
Mhm.
Kemi, an honor and pleasure to finally have you. It
Mhm.
has been too long, but it's the right time.
Yeah, thank you so much, and thank you so much.
Yeah, the
Mhm.
platform is always open for you and anyone of the Delta
Okay.
family. I had
Mm-hmm.
mentioned a book, Black Men Obsolete, Single, and Dangerous. I'm actually going to show the book, this
Mm-hmm.
book. And the funny
Wow.
thing about this book is I've had Black men on the Dr. Vibe show that have referred
Wow.
to this book.
Wow.
And
Absolute single and dangerous.
the
Mm-hmm.
book was actually written in 1990.
Wow. So it's like 30 years old.
30 years
Wow.
old. Black
Wow.
Men Obsolete, Single, and Dangerous, the
Mm-hmm.
African, and it's spelled Afrikan,
AAN. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
African
Yeah.
American Family in Transition. So if
Mm-hmm.
anyone
Wow.
wants information on the book, you can contact me and I will certainly
Okay.
provide it. I am
Great.
Dr. Vibe, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show, the home of Epic Conversations. I'm the host of Epic Conversations 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. And two, once a month, I host Conversations for Fathers that are co-sponsored by Dad Central, Canada's national fatherhood organization, and Dove Men Care. I'd like to thank everyone who watched this or listened to this live and on the replay. I'd like to say thank you so much. I close out my conversations like this. Live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions, then aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. And in the African tradition, I'm going to say something real quick, and I'm probably going to do a separate conversation, probably on Facebook about this. 2 Saturdays ago, I had the opportunity to take my dad to his best friend's 85th birthday. 85th birthday this gentleman was celebrating. And first of all, many of our Black men don't live that long, so that needs to be celebrated. And after we ate, they asked for people to make speeches. So my dad got up there and he said, first of all, I've known this man longer than anybody else here. And he said, I've known this man for 70 years. So I just want that to simmer, that friendship and relationship are foundational, especially in the African community, period. Forget Canadian American, period. So friendship is foundational, especially in the African community. God bless, peace be well, keep the faith, and walk good. Bye-bye.